What's going on, guys? Christian here with Forward Momentum. We have more modifications for the GS, and this is going to be an exciting one. I am switching from the 3.27 GS400 differential to the ARISTO TT 3.77 differential. Now, if you don't know about differentials, think of it like this. It's 3.77 turns of the drive shaft for every one revolution of the tire. It's the easiest way to put it. Another way to think of it is changing gears on a bicycle in the rear cassette, going to a larger sprocket. You get less top speed, but you get better acceleration. I don't care about going 150 miles an hour, so I'm going to bring my top speed down and my acceleration up. That is the goal. Now, this is a non-LSD differential. It cost about $320 shipped. Your best bet is the GS300 differential, which will be the cheapest option, but that is a 3.92 ratio. So that is going to take you to a high RPM on the freeway. The companion flange on the ARISTO TT matches up perfectly to the GS400, so you don't need to pull it. On the GS300, you will need to pull the companion flange off and put your GS400 one in. It's not a huge deal, but you'll have to pull off that gigantic nut that is on there, and you'll have to hopefully torque it properly. That is why my car is up on the lift. And what I'm going to do is show you guys how to R&R these differentials. This is the ARISTO TT differential right here. Again, it was $320 shipped. I will put a link in the video description. And it's a pretty easy job. You're gonna have to pull your exhaust off in a certain section there, and then you'll have access to the different bolts. You're gonna need a 10mm hex and a 12mm hex, and then basic hand tools from there. Of course, you also need 75/90 gear oil. This was the cheapest, 2 quarts for 23 bucks on Amazon. So full synthetic, should be fine. Why am I not going LSD? Cost. Guys, I can't justify spending $1,500 to $2,000 that it's gonna run you to get an LSD differential onto your GS400. I just don't have the power levels right now. Maybe in the future, maybe if I get sponsored by a late or someone that wants to donate a supercharger to me, maybe we'll go that route. For 300 bucks, I should get much better acceleration times. I hear anywhere between 0.3 and 0.5 seconds in a quarter mile improvement. The 0 to 60 time is debatable because you're technically going to be shifting gears before you hit 60. Let's get started on the job. I'm going to leave the oil in the differential on my GS400 as I pull it out. I'm not going to drain it. And the reason is in case I have any issues with this 3.77 differential and I need to throw that other one right back in there, it'll be ready to go. If you happen to tilt this thing back and it was full of oil, it will start to come out of this, okay? But other than that, it should be sealed. All right, let's take a look at the factory service manual. It is only one page, which is a great sign, and it indicates that it's going to be an easy job. I have an X through this disconnect rear drive shaft part because it tells you to take off this cam bolt and all these other things, and you don't need to do that. You just need to kind of start here. You can pause the video so you can see some of the torque values. Of course, I'll call them out. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the 3 bolts on the propeller shaft after I remove the exhaust, of course, and then we're going to work on these, remove the 6 bolts, and then there's 2 washers. It says to apply a light coat of engine oil on the threads of the bolts when they go back in later. Then we're going to come down and we're going to start unbolting the differential itself. You're going to want to support it with a jack to get that down off the vehicle. Here's your 12mm hex wrench that you're going to need. I actually call it a socket. You're going to need to remove 3 of those, and those have a very high torque value of 105. And then the 2 bolts on the lower mount stoppers and the lower mount stoppers at 90. Fairly high torque values there for tools that just look like this. I had to order this one on Amazon, 12mm. It gets great reviews. I think it was $6. Suggestion before you put your new differential in is to drain it, which would be right here. This is your drain plug, and your fill plug is right here. Now, a rule that some of you may know is always undo your fill plug first, because if you can't get your fill plug undone and you drain all your oil out, you're in trouble. This is a 10mm hex and a 10mm hex right here. Okay, we know that that's loose. Now we'll go to the drain and let's see if they left oil in it from Japan. I'm curious. Oh, a little bit. Go ahead and take the fill plug off and it should help drain this faster. Fluid looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna leave this here for a little bit. That's pretty normal to have some bits stuck to it. Only replace this crush washer. It's cheap insurance against leaks. Torque value is going to be 36 foot-pounds. Your capacity on your differential is 1.35 quarts. So I'm gonna go for 1.4. I have it turned sideways. I'm gonna fill it off the vehicle with 1.4 quarts. That way I don't have to deal with a pump going up in the vehicle. All right, so put a mark on your second quart bottle just so you don't put too much in. I'm gonna take it right down to there, and that should be the perfect amount for this differential.
Yeah. But he doesn't seem like he's like very serious.
Okay, take your fill plug, put your new crush washer on there. You're ready to torque to 36 foot-pounds. There we go. All filled up and ready to go into the car. Exhaust system out of the way. I think I'm gonna need to put the car in neutral so I can spin it and get the rest of them off, but there's just 3. So you're gonna disconnect the 3 that are on here, and then you're gonna disconnect the drive shafts by undoing these 6 hex bolts that go around here. That will free up the diff. And then you're gonna wanna support it by a jack. And the reason you're gonna wanna support it by a jack is you've got 2 hex bolts back here and one here. So 3 total there. And then you've got 1 here and 1 here that you're gonna have to take off. That'll drop the diff down. This is what these look like. You can just rotate it around for better access. And go ahead and hand spin them off. All right, last one is out. And then you can just loosen this one. Well, if you can reach it. There we go. And then you should be able to just move it out of the way. There we go. All right. Six out, 2 washers. All right, we are good. And now we can work on the companion flange over here. Oh, it does. By the way, that's a 17 millimeter. Oh, that's awesome. The car is in neutral. I'm turning both wheels at the same time in the same direction. And that will get you where you need to be. My suggestion, if you have your car up in the air, is to loosen these hex bolts that are in the back here with this 12 millimeter hex socket. Don't take them out, just loosen them. Okay, let's give this a try. Oh yeah, there we go. Here's number 2. Yep, it's loose. Let's go a little more. There we go. All right, I got my breaker bar on there. There we go. Nice. These are 19 millimeter. Let's see if the air tool will make them loose. Whoa, I did not expect that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that worked. Wow. These are truck crossbars that came with my Stratus lift. The lift is in the lowest locked position right now, so it's completely safe. This is not supporting any weight other than the diff itself. What I'm doing is I'm supporting the bottom of the differential, obviously. I've lifted it slightly and I am getting these bolts out that I previously made loose. There we go. Okay, so all three of those are out. They're all the same size, so don't worry about mixing them up. And now I'm gonna go for these front ones. All right, there's one. And there's two. Started lowering the thing down and the half shafts are still stuck in those cups. I forgot to mention, take off this propeller shaft shield. I think in order to break this free, I'm gonna have to take a hammer and knock this bolt out of there. I hope you guys can see this, but if you kind of bang on these a little bit, not too hard, it'll break loose the years of rust. And once it's broken loose, it's ready to come off of there. You gotta be careful because the weight's gonna shift on this differential and you don't want it to fall on you. It's heavy. If it's gonna fall, I am gonna hold it right here and let it fall away from me and smash all that stuff over there. There we go. Now we're ready to come down. All right, I'm gonna see if I can let this thing kind of come down here. It's heavy, but I don't care if the floor jack falls. Okay, that should be safe. Famous last words. Here it comes, and you don't want to break anything. All right. Woo, that's about 100 pounds right there. Old differential coming out. All right, old differential, new differential. If you're going with a new used GS300 3.92 differential into a GS400 or a GS430, you are going to have to take off these, which are called companion flanges, and you're going to need to swap them. So you're going to take your old one off and put it into the new GS300 differential. That's the only way it's going to match up to your propeller shaft. Now, in the case of an ARISTO twin turbo differential, which is a 3.77, you don't have to do that. This companion flange will match up with my propeller shaft in my GS400. Now, I don't know about the 427 differential out of the SCs. You're gonna have to look that up. I'm not sure on that. I personally would never go to a 427 diff. It'll just peel all day long in a V8. But hey, if you want to do that, go for it. So I'm not going to swap them, but now would be the time. And the only reason I'm not going to swap them is because you don't have to on the ARISTO twin turbo differential. Let's take a look at these differentials. GS400, companion flange. It's going to look very similar if you have a GS300 diff going in at 392, but apparently it does not match up. So now would be the time to swap them. So that's the GS400 differential, and then of course here's the ARISTO TT. It's just much cleaner. It's pretty much exactly the same. You can see mine is, I don't know, it looks like it has 165,000 miles on it, I guess. So the preparation for getting this new differential into the car, you're gonna want it to tilt back this way. So you're gonna wanna attach the propeller shaft or the companion flange first. So you're gonna have to set up your floor jack in a way that will tilt your differential back so it can meet the angle of that propeller shaft up there. See how the drive shaft is kind of hanging at an angle? That's the angle you want to kind of have your floor jack at when you bring the differential up to it, so that you can thread those nuts on loosely onto that coupler. After that, you'll kind of push these half shafts in a little bit, and as you raise the diff up, they should kind of click into place. I made this little ramp here to aid me in raising up my differential. All I did was just kind of some basic wood stuff here. And that should hold the differential steady as I bring it up to the angle of this drive shaft. Oh, that's awkward. There we go. Okay, now I'm probably gonna need a little more angle than that. But what's good is I can put some of these spacers underneath here. You can see I put a spacer under here. This is actually for lifting cars up. So I can add some angle onto it. I know this is gonna be hard for a lot of you who have floor jacks and jack stands, but it can be done. I've seen some posts on the GS Facebook page and in various places on the internet, and guys are pulling these in their driveway and doing this job. It's just a little tougher without a lift. Whew. All right guys, I got some big water pump pliers, and what I'm doing is I'm squeezing the propeller companion flange to the propeller shaft, and then I'm threading a nut loosely as it pokes through. So I've got one attached. I know it might be hard to see from that camera angle, but I've got one attached up here. Here's my hand, and then I'm gonna work my way around to these other ones. I just wanna show you guys kind of what I'm doing here. I got that top one attached, like I just said. And so see how there's not enough thread sticking out? You can squeeze this together carefully and get enough threads to stick out to attach the nuts. This might be a good visual of it. There you go. Okay, all three are hand tightened. Excellent. Factory service manual says to coat these with oil. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some oil onto these before I run them into the half shafts. Move this thing around if you can't get it to start. Just be really careful that you don't tip the differential left to right too far. Don't forget these little top hat things off your old differential. They just go right on there. Right, after a lot of different techniques to finesse this thing up in here, I think I finally got it. What we're watching for are the alignment of the holes up through here. But as you kind of go up in here, they should appear. And I see them right now. I think this might give you a better view. Let's see if that works. You're just gonna have to play with this until you can get it to take. There we go. Off camera, I went ahead and I threaded these up in here, just hand tight, everything lined up. This one's on as well, right over here. I still have one more to put on that side. There's two on that side. I'm gonna run these in by hand and then we'll get to the torque values in just a second. Okay, your torque value on these three is 105 foot-pounds. It's significant, so be really careful with your lift and your jack stands because you have to put a lot of force on this. Your torque value on these is 90 foot-pounds, but I'm gonna use my impact gun and just put it on a lower setting and run it up in there for a second. There we go. Once you have everything into the frame and torqued properly, you could theoretically just let the pressure off of this because we still need to torque the half shafts. Those get torqued to 61 foot-pounds. I want to raise this up and get more room, so I think I'm going to get this out of here. Let's kind of watch when I let this down, how it flexes. It shouldn't move at all. Yep, it didn't move at all. Boom. You're gonna torque these to 61 foot-pounds. And I've got the parking brake on. And I'm using a swivel. It makes it a lot easier so you don't damage the half shaft boots. The torque value on these 3 bolts is 58 foot-pounds. Don't forget your propeller shaft shield. It's very light. We're in the home stretch now. I'm gonna get the exhaust bolted back in up here, and we should be ready for a test drive. Everything is back in place. Some guys say that you should pull the negative battery cable off so that your car can kind of relearn its shift point. I'm gonna take it for a spin now. Hope it doesn't blow up. Oh yeah, that pulls way better. Yeah, the car really woke up, guys. This made a huge difference. I mean, it's awake now. This is a great mod. A lot of you asked about the freeway, and the before and after on the freeway is generally about 300 RPM with the 3.77. 65 miles an hour, we're running about 2,500 RPM. Miles an hour, running about 2650. Yep, 2650. What you ran before, add 300 RPM or so to it, and that's about what you're going to be at. Now remember, I have a valve body upgrade. It shifts harder. Everything just seems to be working better with the valve body upgrade. It really is great.